When I ran for mayor, I said I was going to tax the rich. Well, today, we're taxing the rich. And so for all of that conversation about this imagined exodus, we have to reckon with the very real exodus that we are seeing in the city. An exodus of working class people.
Do your job as mayor and leave our taxes out.
Giving only two options. You're saying if we don't tax the rich, then I gotta increase property taxes. We are not a pawn in Southeast Queens. We are not part of your negotiation tactics. Arizona, Mamdani, you are out your goddamn mind.
The states that are flourishing are states that do not focus on taxing a small percentage of the population. What they do is they encourage the wealthy to spend, to buy, to do work, to live. They incentivize them to add value to the economy, not tax them until they leave. Let me talk about something that's serious. A lot of people became aware of the evil of child trafficking after watching The Sound of Freedom. That film opened a lot of people's eyes. But there's a question that most don't think about. What happens after someone is rescued? That's exactly what a new film on Angel called Still Hope explores. The film tells the story of a young girl named Hope who was forced into sex trafficking and endured years of abuse before she finally escaped. But freedom is only the beginning. The movie follows her journey as she returns home, tries to rebuild her life, learns how to trust again, reconnect with her family, and heal from things that no child should ever experience. And what I appreciate about the film is that it doesn't just show the darkness. It shows something even more powerful, that recovery is possible, that with support, compassion, and resilience, people can heal. If you care about this issue and you want to support stories that matter, you should watch this film. Also, become an Angel Guild member and stream Still Hope today on Angel. All right, let's get to Mamdani. Mr. I'm gonna tax the wealthy when that's never gonna happen. People have been saying that, I think, since the beginning of time. And how have we been doing with it? Let's do it. Let's do an update. Where has taxing the wealthy actually helped anybody? The states that are flourishing are states that do not focus on taxing a small percentage of the population. What they do is they encourage the wealthy to spend, to buy, to do work, to live. They incentivize them to add value to the economy, not tax them until they leave. Texas don't have a state income tax. I don't think they have state sales tax. Maybe, I don't know, but I think it's not income tax. I know Florida don't have state income tax. These are one of the biggest and most flourishing states in the union, where everybody's moving to be at. The hub of financial success. It's Texas, and Florida is great as well. You guys are stupid. California, they hemorrhaging people. New York is hemorrhaging because they're raising taxes. And I'm going to let you just real quick, give me 20 seconds. Wealthy people have the money and flexibility to move and live anywhere they want to live in a union. Most of us do not. So taxing them do nothing but say, okay, I'm going to sell my residence here and for $300 million, and I'm going to go buy 5 houses in the state of Texas and pay no state income tax. All right, play Mamdani.
When I ran for mayor, I said I was going to tax the rich. Well, today, we're taxing the rich. I'm thrilled to announce we've secured a pied-à-terre tax, the first in New York's history. This is an annual fee on luxury properties worth more than $5 million, whose owners do not live full-time in the city. Like for this penthouse, which hedge fund CEO Ken Griffin bought for $238 million. This pied-à-terre tax is specifically designed for the richest of the rich, those who store their wealth in New York City real estate, but who don't actually live here. But even so, they're able to reap the huge financial rewards of owning property in, dare I say, the greatest city in the world. And most of the time, these units are sitting empty, since again, they don't actually live here. This is a fundamentally unfair system that hurts working New Yorkers. Now, it's coming to an end. This tax will raise at least $500 million directly for the city. It'll help fund things like free childcare, cleaner streets, and safer neighborhoods. As mayor, I believe everyone has a role to play in contributing to our city, and some a little bit more than others. Happy Tax Day, New York.
He really means some, all of the burden. $500 million. How many New Yorkers are paying taxes that's equivalent to $500 million in taxes? What are you saying, bro? You know how many people have to pay taxes to get the $500 million? And you're talking about wealthy people who their estate is being taxed and generating $500 million, not their income. Y'all are stupid. Let me give you an example. Ken Griffey, what's his name? Ken Griffey? I want to call him Ken Griffin Jr., but it's not. I don't hear anything. What's his name? Ken Griffin. I don't know why I want to call him Ken Griffin Jr., but obviously it's not. I met Ken Griffin one time. Well, I was at an event and I saw him. I did not realize he was this rich. Really, that whole commercial, I was thinking $280 million for a residence. That dude has got crazy money. But you know what he's going to do? Because he doesn't live there, we're going to tax him. He's just going to go live there. He's going to live there 6 months out of the year because he can. And then you get no money from him. Or you know what? The particular tax loophole that he's talking about is not including people who own property, who rent their property to somebody else. So tell me this, if he's going to spend $40 million on his tax, he could pay a person $1 million to live in his penthouse when he's not there. He could pay you $1 million, go live in a penthouse and sign a lease agreement, and I'll pay you $1 million to go stay in my penthouse. And I don't have to pay $40 million to the state, and it doesn't even apply to me. Or what Ken Griffin do is sell that real estate and go buy a crazier house in Florida next to the water. And then you don't have him to gouge from. I don't know why they keep lying to y'all. If I was a billionaire, I'd just be like, oh, I'm just going to move. Or I'll rent it out to somebody for $1 million. It's a loophole in it somewhere. Or I'll just go stay there 6 months out of the year since I stay there, 6 months there and 6 months in Florida. I'll just stay in New York most of the time. How they know he's staying there? All you got to do is stay there majority of the time. He travels a lot for business. Anyway, these people got so many ways to screw you, and rich people ain't paying no taxes. It's crazy. We'll see how they work out. All right, Donald Trump had something to say about it, which I thought was very unique. He said, sadly, Mayor Mamdani is destroying New York. It has no chance. The United States of America should not contribute to its failure. It will only get worse. The tax policies are so wrong. People are fleeing. They must change their ways and fast. History has proven this stuff just doesn't work. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. All right. Come on, man. It didn't work. You're talking about a real estate mogul that spent the majority of his time in New York buying real estate and doing real estate deals, and he was a mogul. And he's telling you it doesn't work. This is Mamdani talking about taxing the rich again. Roll it.
And so for all of the discussion of the imagined exodus that would take place were we to tax the wealthiest New Yorkers by the appropriate amount. I say imagined because before I was a mayor, I was a state legislator, and I was part of an effort to increase taxes on millionaires at that time. We were told the same thing then. And what we find now is that we have more millionaires today than we did at that time, even after having passed that tax. And so for all of that conversation about this imagined exodus, we have to reckon with the very real exodus that we are seeing in the city, an exodus of working class people, an exodus of those who cannot afford to live here, and for many who work here, who now find their residence in Jersey City or in Connecticut or in Pennsylvania, anywhere else where their dollar can go a little bit further. And we've seen just in a snapshot from 2000 to 2020, the city lost 200,000 of its black residents. That is the cost of inaction. And so that also speaks to the urgency of this conversation and this advocacy, and it is a representation of the fact that while this is a global issue, it is also very much a local issue here in New York City.
You know how dumb you got to be to believe this dude? He say there's no real exodus. We have more millionaires. Let me explain something to you, right? Your $1 million now don't go as far as $1 million 50 years ago, 20 years ago. So yeah, you can have more millionaires, but that $1 million is not stretching not one bit. Now, let's put this in perspective. There's a very big difference of a person making $1 million a year and making $300 million. And then there's a very big difference of a person that's a $300 million earner and somebody that makes billions of dollars. Corporations that are making billions of dollars. Those are different people. You can have 400,000 millionaires, but you have 20, 50 billionaires. Now, 400,000 is a lot, but you get what I'm saying. A couple billionaires are, if you ever look at this documentary, it's called Millionaires versus Billionaires, and you'll realize these are not two different, Billionaires make millionaires look like homeless people in poverty. I'm telling you. These billionaires got a $300, $400 million yacht that they don't even say. Ken Griffin got a almost $300 million residence that he don't even live in. These people don't even make that much. Millionaires don't make that much money. If you made $1 million a year, it will take you 238 years to make what Ken Griffin paid on a residence that he don't even live at. Do you understand that? Or to take 238 millionaires to make enough money to equate to the residence that Ken Griffin don't even live in. These billionaires are on another level. So when he say we have more millionaires, but if you're losing the billionaires, that's where a chunk of your money is going. Here's Mamdani lying again. Roll it.
Recently, I actually had a New Yorker turn to me and self-identify as someone who would be taxed by this proposal. They said, I'm a millionaire, and is it true that you want to raise taxes on me? And I said, it is true. And they said, well, I would leave. I said, I don't think you would. They said, why not? I said, because we're looking to raise income taxes on the top 1% by 2%. So for $1 million a year, that's an increase of $20,000 in taxes. And when I told them the amount, they realized that it wasn't enough to actually make them change where they would consider their residence. I think what we've seen for far too long is the city hasn't even advocated for itself when it comes to Albany. And what we are going to do is exhaust every option to make it clear that the time has come to reset the relationship between the city, its wealthiest residents, its most profitable corporations, and with Albany. And I believe that together we can get.
Let me give you some more insight. Your money manager, your CPA, they will tell you, here's what it looked like if you lived in Texas. Here's what it looked, because what they're saying is that I'm a millionaire, I live in New York. New York is already crazy high, right? So your $1 million in New York don't go nowhere. And then they already tax you crazy. And then they want to add another tax. A smart, reasonable person that manages their money well, and that's a millionaire, will say, what is the swing if I move to Florida? No state income tax. And they already tax you lower than they'll tax you in New York. And there's no add-on. Because once they start adding on, we're just going to give you 2%, then we go with 4%, then we go with 15%. Then before you know it, they're going to tax you to oblivion. Ain't no millionaire looking at him going, you know what? I'll pay $20,000 extra. You already paying $300,000 too much. $20,000 on top of the $300,000 you wouldn't even be spending if you lived in another state. All right, this young lady had a really good thing to say, and then we're going to move on from the topic. Roll it.
The government, they have a spending problem. They do not have an income problem, especially in New York City. So what he's going to do, his plan, is he's going to keep raising taxes on the same group of people until that group of people, they get fed up with these poor policies and they understand that their money is not being spent responsibly, because when has the government ever spent money well or ran anything more efficiently than the private sector? Never. So the government increases their spending because they're taxing the rich leave. Who gets stuck with the bill? The middle class. Because I promise you, the government, they will not scale back their spending. They will not go, ooh, there's less wealthy people, so we better cut some programs. Nope. No, I promise. Never. So the burden then falls on the middle class, and they tax the middle class until basically everyone's equally miserable and poor. What happens every time is corruption ends up thriving. Somehow people like Mamdani, they get rich, and everyone else gets poor.
100%. 100%. She couldn't have said it no better. If I could say it like that, no better. She couldn't say it no better. These people are lying to you. Like they're gonna tax the mess out of the regular people. The rich people are gonna leave. They're gonna be stuck with the bill. If you notice, and this is what I would like to articulate. Maybe Mamdani said it. I haven't listened to all of his speeches, but if you notice, Mamdani is never talking about cutting spending. He's never talking about minimizing government or limiting government. He's not talking about cutting government spending and programs to adequately cover the gap. He's just talking about adding more of your money to failed policies. That's on y'all.